Hi, my name's Tim Farrell, and I was inducted to the American Institute of Floral Designers in the year 2000. I'm going to share with you the techniques to make a basic vase arrangement that's done in a floral shop almost every day. The materials we're going to use today are a utility clear vase, which is an inexpensive form of glassware available in most flower shops. We're going to use various foliages and different floral materials to construct the vase arrangement. In the AIFD guide, you can find the definition for a vase arrangement on page 308. It's a composition of fresh or permanent plant materials arranged in a vase. Most commonly, when this term is used in a floral setting, it does mean an arrangement without the use of floral foam. We're going to start with some of our foliages, and we're going to make sure that any of the foliages that we're inserting into our vase arrangement are cleaned of any foliage below the water surface. This will help to prevent bacteria from growing in the vase and will help to prolong the life of the floral design. Each stem should be cut, and we're going to insert them into the vase, crisscrossing the stems inside of the vase. By doing this, eventually the stems will form a gridwork or a network that become a medium for your other floral materials to be placed into. We're starting again with our salal leaves, and using basically a radial pattern, we're beginning our network. It's also important when using foliages to remember that some of them do have top sides and bottom sides, and you want to make sure that the most decorative side of the leaf or the top side is facing up and available to the viewer at all times. And you can see how already we're starting to see a form shape here. When you feel like there's a sufficient network of the salal, you can start with another foliage. The next we're going to use is the leather leaf, or sometimes referred to as baker fern. And again, you can see we've stripped the foliage off that's going to be below the water line. I can see a difference already in inserting these stems that they don't seem to want to move around the vase as much. So I'm already assured that there's a network forming there for me to insert the floral materials when I get to them. The reason for using an additional foliage like the leather leaf is just to add a little bit of interest and texture into the network that we're starting. So I'll turn this around so you can get an idea that it doesn't have to be a perfect shape, but you can see the form that we have here is already a round form. Once we're finished with our foliage materials, we want to begin on some of the florals. I like to start with some of my filler flower, and in this instance, we're using a material called solidago. The solidago is a very nice floral material, and it's used as a filler flower. It has lots of additional branches, which also help to develop that network, which in floral design we refer to as a gridwork or a grid. You can also see that the technique that we're using can be referred to as lacing in floral design. And lacing simply means that the stems are crossing among each other so that, again, we have that grid work to work our other floral materials into. In every design that we do, we want to make sure that we incorporate all of the elements and principles of floral design. The elements of design are basically those components which every design has to have. It has to have line, form, space, color, pattern, texture, size, and fragrance. And the principles of design are the things that give us guidance and make those elements look good. The form that we're using in this arrangement is basically a round form. And you'll notice that sometimes an arrangement can have form, but also the components can have form as well. So by repeating that round form, if we start with some of our other materials, like the carnations, we see that the form of the arrangement is round, and also individual elements or components inside the arrangement can repeat that round form like we have in the carnation heads here. I started by establishing the height with the arrangement with the center flower, and I'm going to work myself around the arrangement and put a few carnations in to start filling in some of the gaps in the arrangement. Space is one of our elements as well, and we see that we're leaving space between each of the carnations, and that's very important here. Color is another one of our elements of design, and here we're using a beautiful color combination of the pink and yellow and green. We see that the pink Gerbers also go nicely with the pink carnations and actually repeat that color throughout the arrangement. Gerbers are a flower that are a little water sensitive, so you want to make sure that you give them a very clean cut and that they make sure that they go into the vase, and they also do very well in vase arrangements in comparison with in foam sometimes. For a different texture, we're going to add the Hypericum berry. And the neat part about the Hypericum berry is that it actually will repeat form in the little round berry shapes, repeat the round form that we've started in the arrangement already. But the texture of the berry is a nice contrast to some of the other textures that we have in the arrangement. You'll also see that pattern has become very important in this arrangement. And in a lot of Western style arrangements, we see that pattern is usually more evenly spaced. So instead of things being grouped together and repeating groups, there's a lot of even placement of flowers where things are more evenly displayed throughout the arrangement. We also want to make sure that we pay attention to size when we're making any arrangement, and that we don't make the arrangement either too large or too small for the container that it's in, or too large or too small for the environment that we want to see it in. Both of those references have to do with principles of design, which are scale and proportion. The difference between the two: scale has to do with the relation of the arrangement to the environment that it's in, and proportion has to do with the relationship amongst elements within the design. And one of the other elements of design that we're making sure is that we have some fragrance here. And most of the flowers that are within this arrangement do not have much fragrance to it, but we find that carnations have a beautiful, soft fragrance, and that these roses actually have a very soft fragrance to complement that as well. And this completes our finished vase arrangement. These same principles and techniques can be applied to very small or very large arrangements, all done in vases, and can have multiple applications within a flower shop.